Morning, my name is Patrick. You're very welcome to class this morning. We're going to start in a comfortable seated position. So if you wish to sit in a block or rolled a blanket, to raise your seat at the start of class, allowing your hips to gently open, your knees are dropping out to the side. So ideally the knees should be below the level of the hip. So sometimes at the start of class, it may take a little while for the hips to open. So just be gentle with yourself. So today's class will be quite a strong practice. So as I always say, it's not a competition. Just do what you can. We're all coming to class with different body types, which, maybe recovering from injuries. So just do what you can and don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Take child's pose whenever you need to, and just be mindful of your own body. Today's class will focus a lot on hip openers, which is often associated with the sacral chakra, Svadhisthana. This is the seat of our emotions, our creativity, our sensuality, our sexuality. And sometimes when we have blockages in this chakra, it can, basically cause disturbances in our emotions and also dampen our sense of creativity. So it's quite useful. And sometimes in these type of classes, people feel an emotional release. That can be quite a good thing. Just be mindful of yourselves. Just if any difficult emotions arise during the class, just observe them. Try not to dwell on them too much. Just let them pass. We'll also be doing some standing asanas, which are associated with Svadhisthana, the root chakra, which is our sense of grounding. So at the start of class, as always, we start by becoming present. So whatever has happened in your day so far, just try and use this time for yourself. This is your time. You're taking time out of your busy day. So we become present in yoga by focusing on the breath. So I always, at the start of class, just remind everyone to come to the breath. The breath is your anchor, which will take you to the present moment. We start by focusing on the breath. And also during the practice, just be mindful of sensations that you're feeling. So by being mindful of the breath and observing physical sensations, you're becoming present, which is really the main benefit of yoga. Like, yoga has nothing to do with achieving the perfect asana for Instagram. It's really about just your own body, just being present. So if you just gently close your eyes and just start to observe your breath, just observing where you feel the breath. So without changing the breath or changing the rhythm of your breath, just observing where you feel the breath as it enters through the nose, back of the throat. Feel the abdomen rising, the chest gently rising. And as you exhale, the abdomen gently sinking and the chest falling, and the breath leaving through the throat and nose. Just carrying on like this for a few moments with your eyes closed, just becoming still, allowing the mind to become still, focusing on the breath. We're going now to cultivate the breath. So anyone that comes to my class regularly I like to use a metronome just to help with the counting, and even focusing on the sound of the metronome is a mindful exercise in itself. So we're just going to start with some elongating the inhales and exhales. So with the next exhale, just hold your breath and breathe in for a count of 4. Exhale for 4. Inhale for 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 6. Exhale for 6. 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 Inhale for 8. Exhale for 8. Inhale for 8. Exhale for 8. Inhale for 8. Exhale for 8. Inhale for 8. And exhale for 8. It's coming back now to normal breath. It's in your practice throughout the class, trying to focus on ujjayi breath, which is where you're breathing through a narrow restriction at the back of the throat. This has a beneficial effect of slowing down the breath and also has a cooling effect during heated, active classes, which you'll obviously be having today. So throughout the class, as I said, just to be mindful of the breath, keep going back to the breath, focusing on your breathing through the asanas. Normally we're inhaling as we expand and exhaling as we contract. So just to focus on that throughout the class, and we'll cue the breath as well. And also reminding you again to focus on any physical sensations you're feeling throughout the class. We'll start with a gentle warm-up. So we're going to do some neck rolls. Circling the neck in a clockwise direction. Stopping and going in the opposite direction. Making some yes and no movements. Stopping, and this time tilting the head over to the left, moving the left ear towards the left shoulder. You can place the hand, left hand on top of the head just to deepen the stretch. Coming back to center and changing to the opposite side. Just observing here if you're feeling any tightness or restrictions in the neck at the start of class. Seeing if one side seems any stiffer than the other, any sticky kind of points. And from here, we're going to come into a tabletop position. So in tabletop, the wrists are directly under the shoulders, knees under the hips. We're going to make some cat-cow movements. So an inhale, reaching the head up. Arching the spine. And exhale, chin to chest. Draw the tailbone under. Doing that 3 or 4 more times at your own pace with the breath. Just trying to waken up the spine at the start of practice. Make whatever other movements feel comfortable. You can make gentle circles. Going in the opposite direction. Again, just a gentle warm up for the hips at the start of practice. Come back into a child's pose and just bring your weight forward. I always like to do a little wrist warm up at the start of practice as well. So from tabletop, with your fingers pointing forwards, just bring the weight forward and back. Extending into the wrists. Feeling if there's any tightness in the forearms. Turning your hands right and left, fingers pointing over the sides of the mat, and again, making whatever movements feel comfortable, rocking from side to side. The last one is with your fingers pointing back towards your knees. Bringing your weight back, creating extension in the wrists. This is a good practice for anyone that works at a PC in their job. And coming back to tabletop. From tabletop, we're going to come to our first downward facing dog. So pressing into the feet, lifting the hips high. Trying to keep a straight spine, so don't worry if there's a slight bend in the knees. Try to lift the hips high, pressing into both hands. Shoulders are externally rotated. Starting to pedal into the feet. Right and left, trying to do it mindfully with the breath. And coming to your best down dog of the day so far. Gently engaging the quads, pushing the heels down towards the mat, no problem if they don't reach. It's more important to keep a straight spine. Pressing the weight equally into both hands. Engaging Hasta Bandha, pressing into the palms. Fingers are wide and strong, gripping the mat like claws. From downward facing dog, we're going to come to lying on our back so you can step forwards into the middle of the mat. If you wish, you can come into a gentle yogi squat and sit down onto the mat. for coming into lying position. We're going to start with gentle bridge pose. So drawing the feet in towards the sitting bones, feet are hip width apart. Take an inhale and exhale, just gently peel the spine off the mat, one vertebrae at a time. Inhale, again, one vertebrae at a time, sinking down onto the mat. Doing that 3 or 4 more times with your own breath, at your own pace. Lifting up on the exhale and sinking down on the inhale. Coming down onto the mat. Going to some leg raises now to activate the core. So lifting the legs high, trying to flex the feet. No problem if the legs are not straight, but just doing your best to imagine that you're pushing your feet up in towards the roof, towards the ceiling. We're going to place our hands behind our head, drawing our elbows close together. We're going to come on to our lifting up off the mat, trying to raise our shoulder blades off the mat. We're going to slowly drop the feet down towards the mat, lifting them back up. Again, with the core engaged, slowly dropping the legs down to hover, lifting back up. And one more time. And coming down off the mat. Taking a couple of breaths here. Again, engaging the core, lifting the legs high. This time we're going to drop the right leg down towards the mat. We're going to engage the core, lifting our shoulder blades off the ground. We're going to turn to the left. Extending the right arm out on the outside of the left knee. Come back to center and coming down onto the mat. We're going to repeat that on the opposite side. So again, engaging the core, lifting the legs high. This time dropping the left leg down towards the mat, hovering. Engaging the abdominals, lifting up. Twisting gently to the right and extending the left arm out. Trying to keep the right shoulder blade off the mat. Come back to center, dropping the feet onto the mat. This is waking up the oblique muscles. I'm going to do that one more time on each side. So lifting the legs high, activating the core, lifting up off the mat, twisting firstly to the left, extending the right arm out, allowing the right leg to come down and hover. Come back to center. And this time changing sides. Lifting the legs high, allowing the left leg to come down to hover, lifting up, twisting to the right, extending the left arm out, the outside of the right knee. Come back to center and dropping down gently onto the mat. Taking 3 breaths here. From here, we're going to place your hands behind your thighs. Just going to make some rocking movements. Crossing the legs, coming up to a seated position. But from here, coming back to tabletop. From tabletop, we're going to come to a plank position. Holding plank for 3 breaths. And coming to forearm plank. So forearm plank. Forearms are parallel. Try not to let the hips sink down. If this is very uncomfortable for your shoulders, you can interlock your fingers. From here, we're going to lift up and walk our feet in. Coming to dolphin pose. Pressing into the shoulders. Pressing into the elbows. Making sure there's enough room for your head to move freely from side to side. From here, we're going to lift the left leg high. We're going to open the left hip. Trying to stack the hips. Straightening up the hip again and swapping sides. This time lifting the right leg high. Opening the right hip. Drawing the right foot towards the right glutes, and trying to stack the hips. Lining the hips again, dropping the foot down, and coming to a child's pose. In child's pose, pressing the feet out wide on the mat, big toes are touching. Working on opening the hips. Allowing yourself to sink down towards the mat. Taking 3 breaths here. From here, coming back to a tabletop position. Back up to downward facing dog. Again, hips are high, keeping the spine straight. Starting to walk the feet forward on your tippy toes towards your hands. Just going to come here to a forward fold. So grabbing opposite elbow there. Slight bend in the knees is fine. Allowing the upper body to drape down. You can stay in this position or you can work on stretching the hamstrings, engaging the quads, starting to straighten the legs. Full line the upper body to be soft. Allowing your chest to sink down towards the thighs. Bending the knees slightly, dropping the hands onto the mat, and ragdoll coming up to Tadasana. Tadasana, focusing on sensations in the feet. Padabandha, pressing into the 4 corners of the feet. Again, gripping the mat with your toes to create stability. Calves are engaged. Quads, hamstrings, glutes. Slight core engagement. The arms are hanging loosely by your sides. Shoulder blades drawing together. Neck is straight. Soft gaze straight ahead. Visualize yourself like a mountain, reaching tall, and rooted into the earth. We are going to carry on with our warm-up. We're going to do some lunging salutations, Chandra Namaskar B. So an inhale, exhale, bend the knees, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, straight back, gaze forward. Exhale, drop the hands, step the right foot back. Come into low lunge. So here, placing your hands on your left knee. Start to bring the weight forward. Starting to feel a gentle stretch here in the right hip flexors. Dropping your hands both sides of the left foot. Stepping back to plank pose. Dropping the knees. Coming to your half chaturanga. Keeping your elbows tucked in. Cobra or upward dog, upward facing dog. Back up to downward facing dog. Lifting the right leg high, and again, opening the right hip, stacking the hips. Lifting the knee towards the sky. Drawing the right foot towards the glutes. Squaring up the hips. Stepping the right foot forward. Dropping the right knee. Coming to Anjalayasana. Dropping the hands, both sides of the right hand. Stepping the left foot forward, coming to a half lift. Forward fold. Inhale, reach up. Go into Tadasana. Inhale, reach tall. Slight back bend. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, drop your hands to the mat. This time stepping the left foot back. Dropping the left knee. And again, getting a gentle stretch into left hip flexors. Placing your hands both sides of the right foot. Stepping back to plank pose. Coming through to your half chaturanga. Cobra or up dog. Back up to downward facing dog. Lifting the left leg high. Open the left hip. Left knee reaching towards the sky. Draw the left foot in to the glutes. Squaring up the hips. Stepping the left foot forward. Dropping the right knee. Coming to Anjalayasana. Slight back bend here. Dropping the hands. Stepping the right foot forward to meet the left. Coming to half lift. Forward fold. Vinyasa. Second time again, please, for high lunge. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Drop the hands. Stepping the right foot back. Coming to a high lunge. Gaze at the fingertips. Exhale, dropping the hands. Stepping back to plank pose. Coming to your chaturanga, half or full. Cobra upward facing dog. Back up to downward facing dog. Lifting the right leg high. Stacking the hips. Squaring up the hips. Stepping the right foot forward. Stepping the left foot forward to meet the right. Come into a half lift. Forward fold. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Tadasana. Inhale, lift up, gaze up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, step in the left foot back. Come into a high lunge. Exhale, folding forward. Hands both sides of the right foot, stepping back to plank pose. Coming through to half or full chaturanga. Again, keeping the elbows tucked in, core is engaged. Cobra up dog. Back up to downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the left leg high. Stacking the hips. Weight is pressed evenly into both hands. Square up the hips. Stepping the left foot forward. Stepping the right foot forward to meet the left. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reach up. Come back to Tadasana. Just to complete the warm-up, we're just going to do two rounds of Surya B. So again, starting in Tadasana. Come into chair pose. Chair pose, sinking down, trying to keep a neutral spine, core is engaged. Try to keep the spine tall. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, step the right foot back, step the left foot back. Come into your half or full chaturanga. Come into upward facing dog. Lifting the right leg high. Stepping the right foot forward inside the right hand. Dropping the left heel. Coming to warrior one. Warrior one. Trying to keep a deep bend into the forward leg. Trying to keep the knee stacked over the ankle. Exhale, dropping the hands. Stepping back to plank pose. Coming through to your half or full chaturanga. Back up to downward facing dog. Lifting the left leg high. Stepping the left foot forward. Coming to warrior one. Core is engaged, the slight back bend, gaze at the fingertips. Dropping the hands, both sides of the left foot. Come back to plank pose. Half for full chaturanga. Back up to downward facing dog. Stepping the left foot forward. Stepping the right foot forward. Come into a half lift. Forward fold. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Tadasana. Just do one more round of Surya B. So come into chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, stepping the right foot back, left foot back. Come into chaturanga, half or a full. Cobra up dog. Back up to downward facing dog. Inhale, the right leg high. Stepping the right foot forward. Inside the right hand, dropping the left heel. Come into warrior one. Dropping the hands both sides of the right foot. Stepping back, plank pose. Half for full chaturanga. Back up to downward facing dog. Lifting the left leg high. Stepping the left foot forward. Dropping the right heel. Come into warrior one. Keeping a deep bend in the left knee. Both legs are strong. Dropping the hands onto the mat. Stepping back. Plank pose. Come into your half or full chaturanga. Downward facing dog. Step the left foot forward, step the right foot forward. Inhale, half lift. Exhale. Uttanasana, forward fold. Come into chair pose, Uttanasana. Back up to Tadasana. I'm just going to come to a child's pose again, just to reset. So we're going to fold forward. Stepping back to downward facing dog. Come into tabletop. Again, you may wish to place your knees wide on the mat to open the hips and allowing your hips to sink back towards the heels. Resting your forehead on the mat. Taking 3 breaths here. From child's pose, we're going to come back to tabletop again. Pressing up into downward facing dog. And again, walking feet forward. Taking a brief forward fold. Ragdoll back up to Tadasana. Turn to right, the top of the mat. Reaching the arms out to figure T. Taking a big step with the right foot. We're coming to Uttita Trikonasana, triangle. Both legs are strong and engaged. Right foot is pointing straight over the back of the mat. Left foot can point in 45 degrees. Reaching out over the right foot. Dropping right hand onto your ankle. On the big toe side of your foot or onto a block. And reaching up tall with the left hand towards the sky. Both arms are going in opposite directions. If it's comfortable for your neck, drishti, gaze at your fingertips on the left hand. Focusing on any physical sensations you're feeling. Coming back to center. Here we're going to come to warrior 2. The deep bend in the forward leg. Again, not allowing your knee to come past your ankle. From here, we're going to reverse the warrior. So we're sliding the left hand down our left leg. Rotating our hand, palm facing back. And reaching back with the right arm. Come back again to warrior 2. From warrior 2, coming to extended side angle. Dropping the right elbow inside the right knee. Lifting the left arm up and over. Should feel a deep line of energy between the tips of the left fingers and the right foot. You can allow your left arm to drop down towards the mat or onto a block, whatever feels comfortable. Taking 3 breaths here. Coming back to warrior 2. From warrior 2, we're going to come to pyramid pose. So Placing your hands on your hips, straightening the forward leg. You can adjust your stance if that feels more comfortable. It's also fine if it feels better for your hips to move the left foot out towards the left of the mat to give yourself more space. We're trying to square both hips to the back of your mat. Interlocking your fingers behind your back and folding forward. Getting a deep stretch into your shoulders. Lifting your arms up. Trying to maintain the integrity of the pose, keeping a straight spine so the core is engaged. Try not to allow yourself to round forward. So don't worry how far you can bend down towards the mat. You're getting a deep stretch here into the right hamstrings. Both legs are strong and engaged. Coming back out of the pose, placing your hands on your hips. From here, we're going to come to half moon Ardha Chandrasana. You may wish to use a block if you have a block handy for this pose. So bring the weight into the right foot, stepping in on the left. Lifting the right arm high. Allowing the right hand to drop onto the mat or onto a block. Lifting the left leg high. Left hips are externally rotated, so you're pointing the toes over to the right side of the front of your mat, and then lifting your left arm high if that feels okay for your balance today. Both legs are strong and engaged. With control, stepping back to warrior two. From warrior two, we're going to come to a side squat, Skandasana. So turning the left foot in 45 degrees. Placing your hands in prayer and squatting down, lifting your right toes off the mat, pointing the toes up. I prefer to recommend that people don't squat down beyond keeping the full weight, keeping the left heel pressed into the mat. Let's go down as far as feels comfortable. Turn towards the front of the mat. Stepping forward with the right foot. Coming to Tadasana. Taking a gentle forward fold. We're going to repeat that sequence on the opposite side, so you may need to adjust your position. This time taking a step with your left foot. Pointing your left toes this time over the front of the mat. And coming to a triangle on this side. Bringing a weight forward over the left hip. Dropping your hand onto a block or pressing it on your ankle. Lifting the right arm up in opposite direction. Finding somebody who's pulling your arms in opposite directions. The twist is coming from the thoracic spine. Coming back up to center. And coming to warrior two. So again, there's a deep bend, this time in the left knee. Right leg is strong and engaged. Foot is pointing in 45 degrees. From here, we're going to reverse the warrior, siding the right hand down the right leg, facing the palm back, reaching over. From here, coming to extended side angle, placing your hand, your left elbow on your left knee, or onto a block. Reaching the right arm up and over, gazing at the fingertips, and again, feeling a deep stretch down the right side of the body. Come back to warrior two and preparing for a pyramid pose. May need to adjust your stance. Moving the right foot to the right, that feels comfortable. Both legs are strong and engaged. Left leg is straight. Placing your hands on your hips, squaring your hips towards the top of the mat, interlocking the fingers behind your back, and again, activating the core, folding forward with a straight spine, lifting the hands towards the sky. On this side, feeling a deep stretch in the hamstring and the left leg. Come out of the pose and preparing for half moon Ardha Shandasana on this side. So narrowing your stance, bring the weight into right foot, engaging Pada Bandha, pressing into the four corners of the foot, lifting the toes, spreading the toes wide, and gripping the mat with your toes. Lifting your left arm high, dropping the left arm onto a block or onto the mat. Engaging the right leg, which is strong. Rotating the hips, so pointing the right toes out to the right. Lifting the right arm high. Come back to warrior two. And taking Skandasana on the opposite side, placing the hands in prayer. Turn the right foot out 45 degrees. Squatting down over the right side. Lifting the left toes off the mat. Trying to keep the spine straight, core engaged. Coming out of the pose. Coming to star pose. Stepping the right foot forward towards the left. This time taking a step to the right. Coming to a high lunge. Right foot is pointing straight over the back of the mat. Bending the right knee. Both legs are strong and engaged. Now square, gazing at your fingertips. From here again, come to warrior three. With airplane arms. So again, engaging Pada Bandha. Gripping the mat. And lifting up. It's fine to drop your hands or use a wall if this is challenging. From here, we're going to come to Garandasana, eagle pose. So lifting the left leg over the right. Grabbing the back of the calf with the foot if this is possible. Right over left. Bending the knees. Coming out of the pose. Stepping back to a high lunge. Turning your feet to the side of the mat. Coming to a goddess pose, star pose, and repeating this on the opposite side. This time pointing the left foot towards the top of your mat, coming to a high lunge, bending into the left knee, up bend, raise your fingertips. The left. So engaging Pada Bandha, airplane arms, lifting the right leg high. And from here, coming to Garandasana, lifting the right leg over the left. And this time, the left arm over the right. Eagle arms. Coming out of the pose. Taking a forward fold. Stepping back to downward facing dog. And again, taking a child's pose. Whatever version is comfortable. Just focusing on the breath. Just observing any physical sensations after those challenging asanas. If thoughts are occurring, observe them, let them pass. Coming back up to tabletop. I'm coming back up to downward facing dog. Next asana we're going to come to is lizard. So lifting the left leg high, stepping the left leg outside the left hand, allowing the right knee to drop onto the mat, pressing into right hand, coming onto the side of the left foot and gently pushing into the side of the thigh or the knee just to open the left hip. Foot is at 45 degrees. Pressing your hands into the mat. If you're comfortable here, dropping your forearms, your elbows onto the mat, engaging the right leg, and coming to lizard pose. Coming back up to downward facing dog. And from downward facing dog, we're coming to pigeon pose. So again, lifting the left leg high, this time stepping the left foot inside the right hand, allowing the knee to drop out to the side. Keeping the shin close to parallel to the front of your mat. You can stay here, or you can come onto your forearms, making a pillow, allowing your head to come onto your hands. Taking 3 breaths here. From here, we're going to try one arm balancing pose. So coming back up to downward facing dog. So Ekapada Gundyasana. So from here, we're going to lift our left leg
onto our left elbow, extending the left leg out. You can stay here. You can try and lift the right leg off the mat. Takes a lot of strength in the shoulders and core to achieve that pose. Just do what you can. So the easier version is keeping the left leg extended. Lifting the left knee onto the left elbow and extending the leg out. Trying to straighten the left leg. You can also lift the foot onto a block. I'll show you on the opposite side when we get to that. No problem. If this asana is not in your practice, you can just take a child's pose. Just going to repeat that sequence on the opposite side. So coming up into downward facing dog. This time lifting the right leg high, stepping the right foot outside the right hand, dropping the left knee, pressing in with the left hand, coming onto the side of the right foot. And again, using your hand to press into the thigh to gently open the right hip. And from here, coming to lizard pose, dropping both hands onto the mat. If it's comfortable, coming onto your forearms. And extending into the left leg. Pressing both hands back into the mat. Stepping back to downward facing dog. And coming to pigeon on this side. Lifting the right leg high. Stepping the right foot inside, left hand. Allowing the right knee to drop to the right. Trying to keep the shin parallel. Staying in this position. Or if it's comfortable, making a pillow of your arms and allowing your head to sink down to the mat. You can also place a bolster or a block under the right hip, if that feels good. Staying here, or if you wish to try Ekapada Gunadhyasana on this side, going back to downward facing dog. Bending into the elbows, placing the right knee this time on the right elbow. Bending the right leg and seeing if you can come off the mat with the left leg, or if you wish to use a block, placing the block under the left foot and seeing if that makes the pose more accessible. Can be quite a challenging asana, as you can see. Just doing what you can. Remembering as always that it's not a competition. We're just here to slightly challenge yourself, but don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Welcome to practice away there for a minute. And when you're ready, we're going to meet in tabletop. Just going to do one back bending pose, Ustrasana. So from tabletop, Knees are directly under the hips. Coming back up, placing your hands on your hips. Butt chins are parallel. Toes can be tucked under or pressing into the mat, whichever feels right today. So engaging the core to protect the lower spine. Shoulder blades are drawn back and down. And starting to bend back, being careful to protect the neck. You're welcome to stay here if that feels good. You're still getting the benefits of a great back bend. If you feel okay, placing your right hand on your right heel, left hand on the left heel, pushing the hips forward. And again, drawing the shoulder blades together, core is engaged to protect the lower spine. Taking 3 breaths here. Slowly coming out of the pose by placing your hands back on your hips, keeping the core engaged. Come back up to center. And coming to tabletop. Make whatever movements feel comfortable. And again, taking a child's pose just to reset. In child's pose, we're going to come to downward facing dog. Stepping into the middle of the mat. Taking a brief yogi squat. With control, sitting down onto the mat without using your hands if possible. And from here, coming to Dandasana. So pressing both legs into the mat, pressing the knees towards the mat. It's fine here to use a towel or a blanket under your seat. Trying to keep a straight spine. Your feet are pressed into an imaginary wall. Spine is straight. From here, we're going to come to Vinyasa. So drawing the left foot in towards the sitting bone, pressing the sole of your left foot into the right thigh, and folding forward over the inner seam of the right leg. Trying to keep the spine straight, active core engagement, pressing the right knee towards the mat. From here, we're going to bend the right foot, drawing the right foot over the left thigh. Sole is pressed into the mat. Hugging the right knee, with the left hand and twisting to the right. Getting a good spinal twist. From here, coming back to Dandasana. And coming to Vinyasa on the opposite side. So this time drawing the right foot in towards the sitting bone. Pressing the sole of the right foot into the left leg. Core is actively engaged. Folding forward with a straight spine. Trying to keep the engagement so the left leg is strong. Folding down over the inner seam of the left leg.
From here, bending the left leg, this time drawing left leg over the right thigh. This time hugging the right knee with the left hand or elbow and twisting to the left. Twist is coming from the thoracic spine. Core is engaged to protect the lower spine. From here, coming back to Dandasana. And from Dandasana, we're going to come to Paschimottanasana. Pressing the hands into the mat, fingers pointing back. Trying to fold forward with a straight spine. The core is actually engaged, both legs are strong, feet are flexed. Pressing the back of both knees into the mat. Folding forward as far as you can with a straight spine. And then allowing everything to round forward. Slight bend in the knees is fine here. Grabbing the feet, big toes or the ankles. Just allowing everything to relax. Relaxing all the muscles of the lower spine. Observing physical sensations. Coming back to your breath. Finding the space between the thoughts. From here, we're going to come to revolved twist. So from Dandasana with control, slowly dropping onto the mat. Drawing the feet in towards your sitting bones. Arms are out to a figure T or a cactus arms. Allowing the knees to drop to the left. Raising over the right fingertips. Keeping both shoulder blades pressed into the mat. Taking 3 breaths here. Come back to center. Giving your knees a hug, just realign the spine. And repeating that on the opposite side. Allowing this time the knees to drop to the right. Gazing to the left. Raising the core. The beaks coming out of the pose. Again, give your knees a hug. From here, we're going to come to happy baby. Grabbing the opposite, the outside of the feet from the inside of the knees. Keeping the lower spine pressed into the mat. Making whatever movements feel comfortable. You can draw your knees in towards your shoulders. And gently rock from side to side. And from here with control, we're going to come to our final Shavasana. So extending one leg at a time. Feet are at the outside of the mat. Toes dropping out to the sides. Arms are also wide. Palms facing up. Keeping your eyes gently closed. Just observing everything that you felt during that challenging class. Focusing on the breath. Observing on the inhale, the gentle rise of the abdomen. As you exhale, feel the abdomen gently sinking down towards the mat. Just staying here for a few moments, just observing the inflow, outflow of the breath. If thoughts occur, observe them, let them pass. Trying to find stillness in the space between the thoughts. And focusing on the gentle pause at the end of the inhale and the exhale. Doing a body scan, bringing your attention to your feet, toes, sole of the feet, the back of, top of the foot, the ankles, calves, the knees, the thighs. Observing any sensations. Bringing your focus to your hands. Observing any sensations in your fingers, palms of the hand, the back of the hand, wrists, forearms, the elbows, the upper arms, shoulders. Bring your attention to the tissues around the pelvis, the lower spine, the abdomen, thoracic spine, all around the sides, the front of the ribs, to the neck, back of the head, top of the head, the forehead, cheeks, the eyelids, lips, visualizing a soft smile on your lips. It's observing any physical sensations. Bringing your focus to the points of contact between the body and the mat. Trying to feel a deep connection between your body and the earth. And sensing a deep connection to everyone that's practicing with us today. And all your loved ones, family, friends, extended community. All living beings and the universe. Finding stillness and sensing this deep connection. Universal consciousness. Patanjali says that suffering is caused by the illusion that we are separate, when in reality we are connected to the universe. It can be nice to visualize yourself surrounded by a beautiful golden light. And as you inhale, visualize waves of sparkling light entering through the chakras, to every cell of your body, filling every cell of your body with a vibrant energy. Like you could step out of your body and observe yourself lying in total stillness and peace. Staying in this place for a few moments. Starting to focus again on your breath, observing the gentle rise of the abdomen on inhale, falling on the exhale. To waken up the physical body, start to wiggle the fingers and toes. Make gentle circles with the wrists and ankles. Slowly rock the head from side to side. You may wish to take a deep inhale, reaching your arms up overhead, taking a deep stretch from the tips of your fingers to your toes. Exhale, side out. One more deep, nourishing inhale, side out. Giving your knees one last well-deserved hug. Taking as much time as you need, gently turning over to the right-hand side. And again, in your own time, pressing the left hand into the mat, coming to any comfortable seated position. You may wish to place your hands in prayer. Thanking yourselves for taking time out of your busy day to come to practice. Thanking your fellow yogis and yoginis for shared energy. And I'd like to thank you sincerely for practicing with me today. Hope you enjoyed the class and that you enjoy the rest of your day. Namaste. Thank you, guys.